For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble, and thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. Happy Good Friday. It's actually, I guess it's a great Friday if you get the day off, right? A lot of our friends in Canada, almost everybody in Canada gets the day off, unless you're one of those essential services, right? Unless you might be a bus driver or you work in a hospital or a firefighter, something like that. But for the most part, office workers and many employees have the day off, and it's Easter weekend, and that means it's chocolate time and rabbits and bunnies, and I've got to tell you a story because we have to rewind 2 weeks, okay? 2 weeks ago, I made the confession that I was getting braces, and I have now had them on my teeth for about 2 weeks, and if you've had braces, then you understand, and you're not going to have you'll have sympathy for me because you'll know what I'm talking about. But for me, it really was a big life-changing experience. And so we had pre-taped last week's show a little bit early because I wasn't sure. I was paranoid. And I think I mentioned that I was like, I'm not going to be able to talk. It's going to be horrible. I've got to take 2 weeks off. I need the time. Let's pre-tape the show so we're good to go. And I was able to talk and it was fine. But this is my first opportunity now to actually tell you how it was and how it went. And I'll get to that in just a little bit. I'll tell you my woe is me stories. Also, we're going to talk about Facebook. And do you trust Facebook anymore? Obviously, in the recent weeks, there's just been scandal and fallout about over 50 million people having their personal information compromised. Do you trust Facebook? And I'll give you some thoughts on that. And then it kind of relates to Donald Trump. And again, I'm not here to talk politics. That's not my thing. Point blank, I'm Canadian, so I could give two craps about politics in other countries unless it starts to affect me. And that's just the sort of selfish attitude that people have nowadays. I feel bad for people who live in countries where, they don't have the freedom to vote and things like that, yes. But when you do vote, and you vote people in, and there's different... Now, I realize the popular vote was Hillary, blah, blah, blah. I know I'm not getting into that. But it was no different than when Canada kept having Stephen Harper, right? Canadians can relate to this, where you just didn't like it, but you just kind of had to deal with it. I don't think that people were pissed off. Well, maybe they were pissed off every day, but they certainly weren't expressing it, as far as I saw, on social media over and over and over again. So I'm going to talk about the Trump affairs, not politics, but the Trump affairs, and all these women that are coming forward, but they're having an affair with a married man, so should we really have that sympathy for them? So those three stories, and if there's time, of course I've got other stuff to talk about. We're going to get into it right after this break here on The Scribble.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
JB here, back on The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in again at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. 2 weeks ago, I got braces put on my teeth. 2 weeks ago today. I was at the orthodontist office at 7 in the morning. 7 in the morning, Kildonan Orthodontics in Winnipeg, Manitoba, my hometown. Shout out to all of the staff there. Now, I'd gone for a consultation what was it? maybe about almost 2 months before I actually had the braces. That's how long you have to wait, right? It's like a doctor's appointment sometimes, or a dentist. And so I had gone there. I met with the doctor. We did the 3D scan of my teeth and like every possible picture known to man so they could get these custom braces made in California. So what the dentist or the orthodontist does, the doctor does, is he gets all that information and they send it. They get the custom 3D imaging back, and then he reviews that and then decides, okay, well, this is the plan of attack that we're going to do for Jeremy. This is the plan of attack we're going to do for so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And then, of course, obviously it takes a while to get that done, right? So there is a bit of a delay before your next appointment. And so, like I said at the top of the show, I had like pre-taped a whole bunch of stuff, pretty much like wrote out my will and figured out, just in case something goes wrong. And I was told that you're not going to feel anything as they're putting on the braces. And I'm not afraid of the dentist. I've had wisdom teeth taken out. I've had, it's not like I'm scared of the pain. But I just remember when my brother had braces, now we're going back probably 30 years ago, maybe, and, things have changed, right? The technology and everything has changed. And I just remember him being in pain. I remember it being ugly. I remember him kind of sounding funny. And even just now when I did an F word, when I said funny, I have like a whistle sort of a sound. And so for me, that was actually my big paranoia, is that I make a living speaking. That's my job, is to talk for a living. And so if it's going to be affected negatively or greatly, I wasn't willing to take that risk. And I explained that a couple of weeks ago. And so the doctor was telling me that you're not going to feel anything really, no pain at all in the moment when you're there having them put on. It'll be about 4 or 5 hours when you're at home is when you'll start to feel discomfort. Anyway, it doesn't necessarily have to be pain. And so I finished. I go to the my cousin's a nurse, and so I was able to get Tylenol 3s. So I was able to get some painkillers, and I thought, okay, well, I'll be good. But I was only going to take them once the pain started, because I thought, when I had wisdom teeth, I was so heavily medicated when they were removed for about like a week or 2 weeks or something. I didn't feel 1 minute of pain, but I also didn't get an opportunity to, because I was popping pills every like 3 hours, whatever it was. And so with this one, I was like, all right, I'll take the T3s once I feel the pain, and I just want to see how bad it will be. And in all honesty, actually, it was probably the last time that I had a prescription was when I had my wisdom teeth out. I don't have medication at home. I rarely get sick, and I don't pop pills. My medicine cabinet is actually mostly stuff for the dogs, now that I think about it. It's their ear infection medication and things like that. So I had gone to the store to get the prescription filled. I got home, and I was kind of like rocking out on the couch. I was like, all right, this isn't bad. And then I'm watching the clock because it's 3 hours now, and then 4 hours comes along, and I'm like, all right, still nothing. Then it was the slight hint of a migraine. And so what was surprising to me was that the pain was not actually in my mouth at all. It was creeping up like from my eyes up to the top of my head. So it was in my head, literally. And I didn't feel pain in my mouth really at all. And I guess, now I'm not a doctor or anything, so I don't know about the nerve endings, but I imagine like those sort of go up, into close to the brain and up in your head. And so that's kind of where the pain was. That's at least how I determined it to be. And then I decided to have a nap, because I just thought, this is a headache, and okay. And then I did pop a pill, and that's maybe also what helped knock me out. And when I woke up, the pain, it was still in my head. It was not in my mouth. It wasn't there at all. And the weekend had gone by. Now, I had no appetite whatsoever. Now, this is crazy, because you'd think my last meal that I had was Thursday night, technically, because I didn't want to have breakfast early. I had to leave my house at like 6 o'clock, so I wasn't going to wake up at 5 and eat and then have somebody in my mouth right after. So I didn't have breakfast, and my last meal was Thursday night. So coming to Saturday evening, I sat there thinking, I don't even really have an appetite, and I haven't eaten anything anyway. All right, so whatever, I'm not hungry, I won't eat, then I'll just go to bed. Sunday rolls around, and I thought, I have to have something. I found a can of soup. I figured that would be the easiest. And then at night I did a bowl of rice. And even then, you don't even really chew rice. I mean, I guess you kind of do if you take a mouthful of it at one time. And that's when the pain hit. Now, what happens in my mouth is my top row of teeth, when I close my mouth, you know how they say bite your teeth together? Well, for me, it's the back of my teeth, my back teeth that do it. It's not my front teeth that meet. And so my front teeth come in front of my bottom teeth. And the problem with that is that you're going to have braces on those bottom teeth. So when you do that, your teeth are going to be you're going to be biting onto your braces in the front, which is obviously not good. So they had to put these little like white bumper, they call them, stoppers, so that I can't, so that my front teeth don't go in front of my bottom teeth. But when you're used to chewing on your right side, and that's how your teeth come together, it's totally awkward because then I couldn't chew. And then this bumper kind of hits your teeth if you do it. And you almost feel like, you know how sometimes if you bite on a fork or if you know, like you have that kind of a feeling? Well, that's what I kept feeling. And I thought, whoa, this is really messed up. Like, I don't know. So I can't chew on my right side at all because the teeth just don't even come together. Like that's how out of line my two rows are. Now I've got to go to the left-hand side, but the left-hand side also doesn't quite meet. And so I can only sort of half chew my food. Now, anybody who's ever, sometimes you might take a few bites of food and then you just quickly swallow it. Maybe if you don't like the taste of it or something, or the texture, you just do that really fast. So that's what I'm doing, but it's totally not fulfilling to eat at all. Not one bit. Not one bit. Really, it's not. If you're just swallowing your food, I mean, you're kind of tasting it, right? But it's part of, it's your tongue, it's your teeth, it's the whole experience in eating food. So then I just started to resent food altogether come Sunday night, heading into Monday then. And I was just really, really mad. Monday rolls around. Again, I've got no appetite. My stomach's not even grumbling. Like, that's what's really strange. And maybe it is my brain saying, you know what, this food is going to hurt. It's going to be painful. You don't want to eat. And maybe that's kind of what turns your stomach. But it was Tuesday afternoon when Tuesday morning, my friend had texted me and said, do you want to go for lunch? Well, he didn't know that I had this done on Friday. So I had said, okay, fine. I told him what happened. Like, I've got braces. I don't really know that I can eat. But if we go somewhere, like maybe there's soup or something. So do you know where we went? We went to Subway. And if you've ever gone to a Subway restaurant, you know that smell. You know the bread smell. I was so tempted to get, it was chicken noodle soup. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get soup. I got in there. I smelled the bread. I remember how much I liked their chicken bacon ranch sub. I got a foot-long sub on Tuesday. And so it took me a very, very long time to eat it. And it was probably one of the longest lunches I've ever had, just in terms of the food sitting in front of me and not being consumed, because I'm generally a very fast eater. And so to have it sit that long in front of me, even my friend had said, like, okay, I've never seen you eat this slowly before, but certainly I had to. But it was just, as much as it hurt, and it's bread and it's soft, and the toppings are all soft. It just made me feel good to actually sort of eat food. Then moving ahead to Thursday, then. So now we're heading to almost a week after the procedure was done. I then decided to make mashed potatoes. Now I realize, though, how much a bitch of a time it is to clean your braces, because they were telling me that you're going to have to clean them. So when you go to work, have a toothbrush at work. You're going to have to brush your braces and do it because there's food's going to be stuck in it all the time. So anything like ooey gooey cheese or things like that, you're going to have to. And in all honesty, I think also too, just because I have a habit of like sweeping my teeth with my tongue, so I've always just kind of done that. I don't know why. I think because my teeth are so crooked that it felt really cool to do it in the past. Now you almost feel like they're going to get cut on, or my tongue's going to get cut on the braces. And I made mashed potatoes, and then I thought the next day, so this is now Friday, a week after, I was like, I love potatoes. I'm going to make homemade fries. And right, they're not very hard, right? But they're chewy, they're squishy, and it was actually really good. I really enjoyed the French fries. So it took about a week before I was able to, and that's what they told me. The time frame was the pain could last anywhere from 1 day to a week, and it did. And then after a while, I was able to sort of slowly get into real food after that. But certainly, it's just a total different experience if all of a sudden you can't chew on the same side that you've chewed on for like 20-something years. Really. And I'm wondering if anybody listening right now has dentures. Tell me if this is kind of the same thing, where, if you have food or something in your mouth without your teeth in, does it feel the same way? Like, just eating is very, very different. So I had a new appreciation for my teeth. Now, there was a time, I will admit, that I was thinking after like the first day, I'm like, I can't do this. The words when I say FR words it's not a lisp, but I can hear it, and it's almost kind of a whistle type sound. You might be able to hear it if you're listening closely to this show. And to me, that was almost enough to go and say, nope, take them off. I can't do it. I can't do it. Can't have that whistle sound. I can't. It's just not working. And then it did take about a week before, and I don't know how much of a difference right now. Like, when I look in the mirror, I'm kind of looking and going, hey, I think that tooth has actually moved quite a bit. I don't know realistically if it moves that quickly. It probably doesn't, right? That's why you have to wear them for 2 years. But certainly, like, you know, I don't know if it was swelling or what happened, but it's not as hard to speak as it was those first couple days. And when I say hard to speak, I just mean the sounds, right? For me, if I have a lisp or some sort of weird kind of speech impediment because of this, that's what makes it hard to speak for me. And if we're going to do 30 minutes straight of it, that's what I'm talking about. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. There's a good, nice 10-minute rant about braces. If you're an adult and you've had them, tell me how much it affected you. And I want to know, especially if there's kids, if your child has braces, either you email me or have them email me and tell me what their experience was like. Just because it sort of came up in conversation, like, well, I wonder if it's easier as kids to get them, right? Is that maybe why? Because your teeth aren't so rooted in there and stuck in there. Now, again, this would probably be a good question I should have asked the orthodontist, but I will be tracking this journey online. We're working on a website right now with our friends at Kildonan Orthodontics, and so we'll have pictures. But I mentioned 2 weeks ago that I haven't been photographed with my mouth open, and so after I'd sat up and the braces were on, they're like, okay, big braces, smile. And even then I was just like, you know what, I still just don't really want to. It just seemed weird. But I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Again, this is something that's been an insecurity of mine since I was 20 years old. So 15 years in the making, 16 years soon. And it really is life-changing for me. I know it might not be a huge deal for many people who get braces. Maybe sometimes it's cosmetic. Maybe it could be medical, dental. I don't know. But for me, it really, really is a huge deal. And so, again, my thanks to the friends at Kildonan Orthodontics. And stay tuned for when we get that website up, and I'll give you the link and you can follow along. Coming up, let's talk about how you trust Facebook after their data and information breaches. It's coming up right here on The Scribble.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on this Scribble. And again, thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. Facebook has been in the news quite a bit lately, and I have sort of seen a revolt from people over recent weeks, and even really months before this whole data breach with the Arcadia, whatever the hell the company was, where 50 million users, they say, had their information compromised. Now, I'm one of those people who I don't put much about my social life on Facebook or social media platforms in general. But what they're saying is that people who downloaded an app then, had their friends, and then their friends, and then their friends all affected by this. One, I have never really used Facebook apps, so playing those games or doing those tests, I've never done it. Does that make me feel entirely safe? Not exactly. But also here's the deal. I've been skeptical and hesitant about these social media platforms that I really don't put my real information as it is. And so Do they have my real birth date? Do they have my high school? Do they have all of my details? No, they don't. Now, I'm not to say that I'm smarter than you or smarter than anybody else, but I've just always kind of been leery about that. It's no different than when you're asked for your email address to sign up for something. Well, you know what? You're going to spam the hell out of me, so I'm not giving you my real email address. And it's no different than any of my social media platforms that I'm on. So when it comes to birth date or anything like that, yeah, I generally do put fake information. And maybe it's just because I'm distrusting. I've always felt that I don't understand why you need to know all of these details. Now, I get that they want to do it so that it's a social media network and you can connect with people you went to high school with and all these things like that. Okay, fine. But I've always been leery about it and go, it's no different than when you download an app on your phone and then all of a sudden it says they want permission to have access to your pictures and your contacts and whatever. And I'm sitting there going, it's a slot machine game. Why do you need access to my contacts and pictures and all that stuff? Like, I don't know. So I'm one of those people who I'm like, you know what? I don't need this game that badly. No thanks. Goodbye. But again, a lot of people do put a lot of information, every single thing. Now, I've mentioned when it comes to social media that any baby who's been born in the past 5, maybe close to 10 years, I'd say at least 5 years, has most likely had their life documented on social media. That first hospital picture, mom tweeted or posted from her bed, and basically like every milestone, every significant moment of that kid's life has been documented on social media. For me as an adult, I'm glad that my parents weren't on there, posting every embarrassing photo of myself. Given that I had crooked teeth and was embarrassed by that, I wouldn't appreciate it very much. So, do you trust Facebook now, or are you just not on Facebook as much in general? So, when I mentioned a few moments ago about people really not trusting in Facebook, do you spend as much time on Facebook as you did 5 years ago? Scandals aside, okay, let's pretend those didn't happen. Are you spending as much time on Facebook? Because there's a lot of people who back in the day, and maybe still now, but back in the day would wake up, look at Facebook right away, wake up in the middle of the night, go through Facebook, and and I'll admit that I would do it several minutes after waking up because I wrote a book called Put Down Your Damn Phone already, so I don't have my phone with me right by my bed, so that was never an issue for me. But I would wake up and come downstairs and get my phone and turn it on almost right away, and I would look at Facebook, and that would be the first thing that I do. But over the last few years, it's less and less time on Facebook for me. And even then, I mean, I'll just post a picture through the app on my phone, and this is also where I understand that app developers, whatever, can get your contacts. Once you install the Facebook app on your phone, then you are opening it up. But thankfully, I have more than one phone, and one of them I just use as a Wi-Fi device, so I actually don't have any contacts or anything on that, just so you know. So don't ha-ha me that, you can get hacked as well. There's nothing on that phone, really. We use it for office pictures when we're doing our travel shows and red carpets and things like that. None of my personal information is on that phone, just so you know. But anyway, what my point is that I'll use the app to upload a picture, and that's about it. And maybe this is the whole me attitude that people have these days, but I honestly don't care what people are doing on Facebook. If my friends want to tell me that they're going to Mexico or they're going here, they're doing this, they're doing that, they can text me or they can call me or we can hang out and have lunch and we can do that. I truly don't care to spend an hour scrolling through everybody's day, really, because I don't know. Now, also, too, in my industry, what I do, being in the newspaper, on the radio, and on things like that, there are people that add me as a friend and I don't know who they are, so I've got 1,000 and some friends, not because I think it's a popularity contest and I want to claim that I've got all these, I've got all high numbers, that I'm so popular, I'm such a big shot. I just add people or accept people, whatever the term is, on Facebook, because why not, And I'm saddened if they have, heartbreak that they post about, but I just don't care to make myself available on social media. I really just don't. And, that's my prerogative. I'm not knocking anybody who does. I'm not saying that, you're wasting your time or anything like that. It's just not for me. So back to the question of, do you trust Facebook now, or has the recent wave of scandals kind of tarnished your view of the social media platform? And then also, too, we've had all these boycotts of like Snapchat and all these other things. So what is the social media platform that people are using? Are we kind of coming to the end of social media then? Are we actually seeing a revolution? Like, this is one of those things where I've said many times that, it's not going anywhere, it's not going anywhere. But as people start to lose trust and faith in them, chances are there's going to be another one that comes around and, you sign on to that one. But is it going to be like reality shows where you're kind of just done with them? You're kind of just sick of it. All right, it's old now. All right. Tell me your thoughts. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com. live@jbonair.com.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. All right, we've got about 4 minutes left. So quickly, at the top of the show, I mentioned about the Trump affairs. Now, here's all these women coming forward saying that they have slept with Donald Trump. Now, this is different than the women who claimed that they were assaulted by him. So we're in this new wave now of not people who are saying they were victimized with the sexual aspect, I'm saying, but they had consensual relationships with him. Anderson Cooper had his interview with Stormy Daniels on 60 Minutes, and then that other one, the ex-Playboy McDougal, I think is the name, right? And so she talked about how it was shortly again after his son Barron was born and what have you. Now, these women are paid hush money. So this brings up a couple of questions for me. One, you're paid hush money, which means that you know you've done something wrong, and then you're saying that you're being bullied about it. Well, here's the deal, and I tweeted this a couple weeks ago, and then people jumped on me. You're having an affair with a married man. So right there, I don't have sympathy for you. I don't have sympathy for you. So I'm not that I condone violence, but this is one of those things where if the wife comes and beats your ass down, okay, you had it coming, right? Again, I'm not condoning violence. I'm not saying that's the way to solve anything. But when you F up someone's marriage, I realize that it takes two to tango, and he's also to blame. But bottom line is, there's two people that make the decision in this one. You know, as the one who's being cheated with, that you are helping come between two partners, two, married couple. So there really is something about that. And then when you take hush money on top of it, how about, get this, how about you just keep your bloody mouth shut because you're shamed and you're fearful that you're going to be judged and cast as a horrible person because you came into somebody's marriage? That's just my thought. Now, I don't know. So these women, they claim they're bullied by Trump and whatever, but they accepted hush money in the first place. So it really does, it sort of makes me laugh because I don't feel bad for them in a sense, because you knew, and especially getting involved with somebody who's high profile. Now, he wasn't a presidential candidate at the time for most of these people, but nevertheless, he's a billionaire who's on TV, who's famous, who's whatever. Maybe that's part of the attraction. Again, I don't know. I'm not these women, but again, you kind of get what's coming to you. Like, that tabloid websites and magazines and paparazzi and all that exist. So you got to think these things through, right? Now, again, I'm not condoning this alleged bullying that the president or his associates are doing of the women. That's not what I'm saying. And again, once again, I'm not saying that I'm not condoning violence by any means. But what I'm saying is you kind of get what's coming to you, is what they say, right? You jaywalk across the street and you get hit by a car. Well, I kind of don't feel bad for you as the jaywalker who got hit by a car because you were the one not following the rules and crossing at the intersection or whatever it is, right? So most people would look at the victim of that accident or that crash as being the pedestrian, the person on foot, because the crazy driver hit them, but you brought it on yourself by the actions you took. Anyway, send me an email, live@jbonair.com. Here's a quick shout-out about Twitter.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Email me anytime, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat